Hey there everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Chris Orme and this is a look into breeding saves, what they are, how they work, how to set one up, and how to make them as efficient as possible and what kind of results you might be getting from them. So yeah, video one, we looked at the existing breeding save I had, kind of my ideas on why I put it together, what I was looking for, and just how it worked. Video 2 in this series was all about how to set up a breeding barn. Now, I felt that video 1 was things you could just take and apply to any save. And you could basically turn any of your saves into a breeding save. At the same time, apart from skipping, the passage of time as sort of crazily as I was doing, and I do for these saves, you could easily just run a normal save and take a lot of that breeding information and put it on one side there, and just still race. But maybe not skipping large chunks of the year, and maybe not the part about repeating the year to breed from, to breed the same mares basically to a variety of sires in the same season. So I felt that was something you could apply to any game, and that would give you some breeding stock to work with, and then you take that breeding stock and apply what video 2 teaches you about how to set it up and what that looks like. So we put that together and we end up here now with our breeding barn, 16 fillies ready to go, ready to get bred against so many horses here that we really don't know. But we did some tests and we've come up with 3 names. The first name on the list is going to be Fontano. So all I'm going to do here, again, in case there's any new people here that have joined in, when you've got your breeding barn and everything set up, we've gambled for money, we've bought out every facility apart from the horse transporter. But by all means, if you want to, just buy them. Like, you're never going to run out of money. If you keep on, you keep on betting, you keep on selling yearlings, especially if you sell the colts that don't make it into your breeding barn or into your transfer list, so they're not quite good enough, gild them, sell them as unraced 2-year-olds. You'll get a lot of money back that way and pay for everything sort of twice over if you've got enough horses in your breeding barn and you're dealing with that level of sort of turnover in terms of producing yearlings every single year. It's sort of, it gets crazy. It really, really does. So you don't need to worry about the money there. But once you've got everything set up, you can always just step in here. And then it's just basically a week. A week will let you know if they have bred successfully or not. I repeat unsuccessful, so I don't need to redo it. But we start on a Saturday, which means by a Friday, we know Icy Sky is in full to Fontano. Great. At this point, you can always look into the auction, see if you like anything or not. That's up to you. You go one more day to free up Fontano. You apply to the next down the list. And again, we're spending about $500,000, just over $500,000 on each of these breeding pairs. And again, we go through to the Saturday. And if it doesn't work the first time, it'll roll round to the next Friday, not Saturday. So if you ever get a pair that doesn't go in a week, normally it'll go in 13 days instead. But you can still look at the auctions and figure out where you are. So I've got a breeder's sale coming up on the 10th of February. So we kind of keep that in mind. We roll around to the next Saturday and so on. But you can always look at these auctions. The breeders, you might add more names to your list. The Friday auctions, you can get a lot of grade 1s. You can see here. Now, they're male horses for sure, but Celtic Boy or Celtic Boy and Time to Excel have made it through. And then we got this horse, Krasivaya. don't know them, but they won a grade 1. They're excitable, so I wouldn't want to breed for them. And they don't have a great running record. But you might find something in those Friday auctions to add to your breeding mares and then breed those as well to the same horse. So just keep that in mind. I'm going to go through and breed all these. I'll be back once we're at the point where they're all bred. And I'll then sort of show you the next step. And okay, we are finally done. We had a couple of horses take a while. Yeah, in fact, one took 3 different weeks to breed. So that was interesting. So we now sit mid-season with all these horses bred up. I haven't really checked the auctions. I haven't kind of kept an eye on them too much. I know some grade 1s did come through earlier on. But again, mainly colts and a couple of fillies weren't really good. Yeah, they all seem to be excitable fillies who are getting through here. So, don't think we've missed anything there. But everyone's bred now to Fontano, who, okay, doesn't have top extra speed, but everything else looks pretty good. Not amazing in places, but pretty good in places. So, what I'm now going to do is just set up again, as we've seen, to skip through as much of this calendar as possible. So we're in May. We're approaching the halfway point of the season now. At the end of this, we'll kind of be there. And yeah, I'll see you at the end of the season, and we'll take a look at kind of what you can expect on the easy mode in terms of breeding. Because easy mode saves are actually very, very reliable in that the horses that you breed and the traits they have will be more or less passed on normally about 50-50. There's a little bit of randomness to it, but if you have 100% finish application on one horse and a 0 on another, it can be any of the 3. It could be 0, 50, or 100. If there's a 70 extra speed bred with a 90 extra speed, it's likely to be around the 80 mark. It, again, could be either extreme, but it shouldn't go higher or lower than either of the parents have. Now, when you move on to normal and hard difficulties, of course, that goes away, and there's a lot more breeding sort of stats that get brought in from behind the scenes, hidden stats, and randomness. You never know quite what's going to happen. You can breed 2 bad horses and get a good one. You can breed the best 2 horses ever to live, and you get an absolute stinker in return. So, be warned, if you're on anything but easy mode, your results may vary. But as I say, since you're just trying to breed the best horses you can, and with this breeding save, we're kind of not, we're not really playing the game. We're getting assets to play the game in a different save. I think is the best way I kind of think about it. So we're getting horses to put on the transfer list. We can bring them off the transfer list to seed other games that we're actually going to be racing on. And so with that in mind, I don't really think I would ever choose normal or hard mode. I think easy mode is just the complete, simple, easy way of actually doing the breeding. So yeah, as you can see, we're just jumping on through to the end of the season. As I say, because the modded schedule does not line up with the default schedule, we're already past the end of the season, which is why we didn't get this look. It already thinks we finished the season, because 26th of November is the end. But, of course, this schedule runs all the way through to the 30th of December. So, you get a full year. That means we can go to the final day. We can check the auction, and Certos is in there. Now we can look. We can have one check for an auction. A grade 1 winning 5-year-old. He might be... He's not going to be any good. I was going to say he might be decent, but he's not going to be... Yeah. So, Not full finish. Sorry, not full consistency, but he does have full finish, and it's just potential. Apart from that, he looks like a really decent horse, to be fair, but it's worth taking a quick look. Okay, so now we're at December. Again, if you're playing just unmodded, then all these horses will still be in full, and you won't already have yearlings. Otherwise, the first few yearlings for, I'd say the first 6 weeks usually, are in danger of being foaled sort of between the November time and the end of the season, which means they'll enter a 2-year-old, not as yearlings the following seasons. But that does mean we can take a look now before we end the season. So we got Icy Sky. This is kind of what Icy Sky looks like. Very solid, very decent horse. And, you know, a chance to be pretty good, actually. A very solid miler. And that comes in with Fontano, who we looked at as well. And, yeah. So we can see now we got a breeding indicator of a mile 2. Icy Sky's a mile. Fontano's a mile 5. The math puts you somewhere in the middle. That does not mean that's where they run. That does not mean that Icy Sky cannot get a mile 2, for example, and Fontano might actually run better at a mile 1. It doesn't, it runs at about a mile 4, which is why we get where we are. But then the game give it the name Marlins. I would rename it something evocative of both the sire and dam. But here looks okay. Here looks okay. Mile 2, we're not excitable. Everything looks okay. We jump in, and there you go. Extra speed is okay. It's okay. What I'm actually going to do, I think, is do a little breakdown with Icy Sky's stats. So now you can see our dam that we brought in versus Marlins, the foal we had. So working from the bottom up, we look nigh on identical. I mean, the jumps ability has disappeared, we don't really care. The maturity rate has gone up, so while Icy Sky is a very good young horse, it looks like Marlins might take longer to get there. Same juvenile, same going. Gained a little bit of a distance adaptability, because if we use this trick and look at Fontano, we see that's come from there. Now what the fun thing is, Fontano has jumping ability, which is why we've kind of gained a little bit extra there. But the jumps potential goes down, again, mainly because he doesn't have great jump speed potential. But I really like the way these have gone. We've gained, we gained Icy Sky's adaptability there, which is always nice. Again, the enthusiasm goes down. Fontano was dealing with 40. We had 70. We end up with 60. So that's not bad. 55 would be the average. So you can see how we're falling into the middle of both those set of stats. We both sit on 30 deterioration, because so does Fontano. We're bang on where Icy Sky's extra speed was. Fontana was on 70, so there wasn't much of a range for that to change. And you can see the cruising burst goes up because 50% is what Fontano had, and we gained that. We didn't get the average, we gained the maximum, which is Fontano's 50. Sadly, confidence, we gained Fontano's 0, as opposed to the 45 from Marlins. I would have preferred the average of both those bars and to sit them around 35 each. But the good thing is as well, we know that the 2 bars which can increase from age 2 to 3, and from 2 to 3, cruising burst can rise. And then potential can gain from 2 to 3 to 3 to 4 to 4 to 5, rarely 4 to 5, in a US flat schedule at least. But yeah, it's interesting. And then potential, like that's the only other difference. Constitution's all the same. And then we see ourselves low battling qualities because neither parent had it. And yeah, where you can see the drop off in actual ability here. 45 instead of a 60, which is more or less the maturity rate coming into play. It's just going to take longer to develop the horse. because it's going to hit its peak later in its life than its dam. And if we take a look at Fontano, you see it also had a little bit more than the dam in maturity rate, but that's something which doesn't really come from the breeding pair so much. That's just different for each horse. You'll breed the same two horses 10 times, you'll see 5 or 6 maybe different maturity rates across the entire spectrum. That's just the way that kind of works. But top end potential, we've got Icy Sky here just over 70, and we got just under 80 for Marlins. Fontano's 85. So Fontano's bar was here. So halfway between there and there would be, I'd say, about 77, 78 somewhere. It's where we land. So where the potential itself is right each side. But the ability of a young horse is tied to its maturity rate. But overall, does it hit all of my metrics? Low confidence scares me. That's number one. I don't really like it, but I've had good horses without it, so okay. It's whatever, but it might be a factor. High cruising burst I like, over 70 extra speed, not quite the 80 that I'm really looking for. But everything else looks really good, apart from ability, a touch low, but it will take longer to develop. You take that into mind, and Marlins definitely hits. Definitely hits. Arctic Alloys. Another solid looking dam. And we'll see exactly kind of how this works out. But you can see here these stats look pretty good. Again, with Fontano, looks like we are laid back. Was Arctic Alloys? Yeah, Arctic Alloys is laid back. Fontano is also laid back. So that's something else. Well, Icy Sky is normal disposition. You can't really see it there, but that's why you see the disposition being the N for normal. But Veloz is laid back because both parents are laid back. You always gain that. Also, look at that stamina bar. There's Arctic Alloys at about a mile. Veloz is full stamina. Fontano has pushed that over onto the colt. And again, we see the abilities low, but again, we hit that direct midpoint of potential between the two parents, because there's no real difference in Arctic Alloys and Icy Sky, and we do hit the exact same midpoint there. The battle and qualities are the same. Constitution gains more, which means we can race Veloz to the brink and be okay. A little bit more confidence, I like that. So we don't inherit the 0 that Fontano had with Veloz. We do get slightly over 50% cruising burst again. I like that. That 70 is sadly the low end, high end, and mid end because both parents had 70. So, yeah, deterioration of 70 and 30. We actually gain the midpoint of 50. Enthusiasm goes down a touch because that's where, sadly, the low point. That's where Fontano's 40 is. They both have 2 full here. That's fine. Again, a little bit of distance adaptability coming in. We lose some of the surface adaptability from Arctic Alloys, but we're going to develop really quickly the maturity rate. So we're going to peak at 2 or 3 for certain with Veloz, which is sad because normally you won't be able to race them 15, 20 times a year like you might a 4-year-old. So it opens up even more races. You lose 3-year-old only races, but you gain a lot of 4-year-old and above races. So, yeah, it's not going to work perfectly here. But again, I really like the way it's all set up. I think we'd be fairly happy with it. Again, it looks like that ability is just starting off low. And then we got Bug Typhoon. So we're going to look at this one. Looks like we're starting off with more potential in this one. So we should see Capera come through with more potential. Again, Bug Typhoon is normal disposition, so is Capera. And there you go. You see we actually gain a little bit more potential. Not really much more, But we do lose a lot of ability. We're actually down quite deep. So the two parents look like this. We've got an 85 here ability, and we've got a what's that? That's 55, sorry. And it looks like we've gained a lot of the top traits, to be fair. Yeah, it's not bad, actually. Again, there's not that much difference between Fontano and Bug Typhoon, who we've got looking here in this overlay graphic. I mean, yeah, there's not much. But we gain the cruising burst from Fontano. We gain the confidence instead of the dam. And then it's kind of back and forth elsewhere. But honestly, again, it's a good horse. 80 potential, but only a 35 ability. Normally, I rate about 20 growth per season. And that's a good season. So that 35 becomes 55, which then at the end of their 3-year-old would put them at 75. Which isn't bad, but that means you run your start of your 4-year-old season at 75 ability. So it doesn't matter if they gain potential or not, you're still not going to hit that before you hit 4. And that's kind of why I dislike low ability but high potential horses. They're never going to hit. Whereas you look at Bug Typhoon here, 55 plus 20 is 75. Which means we hit 75 at the end of our 2-year-old season. And then if we don't gain anything, then fine. They both run 3-year-old season with 75 potential. Whereas Bug would start with that, Capera would probably gain it halfway through or at the end of the season. And then if we didn't see a jump for Bug Typhoon again, then they would both be 75 ability horses going into their 4-year-old season. But Bug doesn't mature in the long term. Capera again does. But overall, that's not bad. The only thing I don't like here is low potential. So I'm going to disqualify all 3 of these from my transfer list. Just because all these have at least 50% potential. 50% ability and 70% potential. Minimum. So what I would do here is just go through and retire those. And then we skip. We let the game catch up to the start of the next season, and this means nothing to us. We haven't raced. We're not going to race. It's not that kind of save. Yeah, so that's kind of what the easy save looks like. That sometimes you get the highest of the 2 parents, sometimes you get the lowest. Normally you'll be in between, and normally, especially potential itself, you will find that you are directly in the middle. Very rarely will you gain potential of one horse or the other. It's usually going to be in the middle of the 2 breeders. So there is that to keep in mind. But almost anything else I feel can be top end or low end. That's one thing that's almost super locked to being the average on easy mode breeding. And like I say, with this horse, with Fontano that we're breeding from, 0 confidence, 40 enthusiasm. It's not the best. 70 extra speed as well is barely our minimum. But 85 ability and potential, and, full finish, full consistency, 50% cruising burst. It's far from the worst. So, and just be noted, because this is the start it mod again, the off-season stuff does take longer sometimes. But that being said, this is taking even longer than normal, and I think the game crashed. I honestly think this game crashed. Which would super, super, super suck. Does that mean everything I've done up until this point would be pointless? So, I'm going to leave it a few minutes, see if it comes through on its own. Yeah, it's likely I'm going to have to redo all that. And that sucks. That really does suck. Yeah. Yeah. So that is one of the issues you might come across. And it's to do with using the mods, which honestly I don't really need to use because I'm not racing. This is just breeding. So I could just set up a new default save. But what this is going to do is going to take us all the way back to like the start of that season, I think, with nobody bred to anybody. So yeah. So I'm gonna set a non-modded save up. It shouldn't take too long. Like I say, in terms of everything else. Did I choose? There we go. Just want to make sure it's set up properly on default. Flat, easier. Gonna create. We take this down to small. Not gonna put legends in because we don't need to. Yeah, I'm gonna let this set up, and then I'm gonna go through import again. Import those 16 horses in, find someone to breed from, and look at them. So I think that would be a lot more stable to do than using the mod, which the game isn't very well optimized, so you will run into those issues where it freezes at times, or it jumps, or it skips, or it lags, or sadly that is a factor. It's still a game made by only one person, so all the sounds, all the graphics, all the coding, absolutely everything done by one person, which I think is, for as good as this game is a monumental achievement. But sadly, that does mean things aren't quite as good as they could be. Even just things like this, the Starters Order 7 logo here, you see in that sort of bottom third over to the right-hand side, is covering the text that the game's trying to tell you. So it'll take a while, but it only needs to be done once when starting a new save, is the word. But it's hidden by the text. Little things like UI and optimizations and bug fixing and everything else. I would hope that if the game got big enough, which it's been on Steam this year, and I think it's selling fairly well, and there's a mobile game, and there's the jockey game, and Starters Orders Classic came out for those that sort of might have older computers, but it's still interesting and tapping into different markets, and probably a Mac version of the game at some point. Who knows? But see, I didn't need to cut away for that. That didn't take like an hour to make. Oh yeah, sadly we're in fake USA because of copywriting type stuff. Oregon, Brooklyn, there's Brooklyn. If you ever wondered, Brooklyn is on the west coast. It's just up by the mountains here on the west coast. It's not anywhere near New York. You're completely off there. Brooklyn is over here. Yeah, Belmont doesn't exist. I can never quite remember where Kentucky is. Kentucky's over here somewhere. New York, New Jersey, Baltimore, Maryland, Boston's down near Virginia, of course. California. Yeah, California, that great northeast location. Yeah, if you're playing in America, you get unlucky. There's Kentucky and Louisville. Okay, so let's go like right in the middle here. Let's go actually at the base of the mountains. At the start of this grassland. There we go. That's a nice place to be. That's a nice place to be. And we got trash, more trash, even more trash, and even more trash. Okay, I'm going to go and do the betting glitch and scout out this season and get a ton of money and sort it all out. But yeah. Crashes, beware. Save your game, back it up, everything. You never know what can happen. So okay, we're at the at the start of the next season. This will be season 3 in game technically. Just wanted to buy up everything I could. So we got this Mustakmil, sorry, who is absolutely terrible. Ran him in the Swords Dancer for fun, and yeah, 27 lengths. I think it was 27. Yeah, 27 lengths back. So not the best in the world. Certainly not the best in the world. He's just there to skip time. I've only put 8 horses in the breeding barn here to try and, you know, help us out somewhat. And I'm looking here at some of these horses, so I'm just going to start breeding a couple of these. So those are the 2 really big expensive ones. I want to make sure that we don't miss out on the top grade one. That's for sure. Then we got 3 grade 3s, so we might as well do the 3 grade 1s that have grade 3 times 3 grade. But I know what I'm trying to say, but yeah, the game's got me kind of flustered now with its craziness. In crashing, then I'm just going to go down for the other high rated here, Kirk Hamilton. So we've got our horses here at the start of this season. We've all bred up with one of these sort of top game bred horses that we can kind of see at the beginning of the game. So now again, we're going to go and set up for an end of season reveal at how good of these horses actually are, and then go and breed from them and come back and show you what the progeny of these horses actually turn out to be. We'll pick the best sire, breed them to the 8 we've got, and take a look at the 8. And thankfully, because we're playing now on the default schedule, it will not kick people forward as 2-year-olds a year early. We won't fall at the end of the season, hopefully. So I think that's through with the difference in terms of the calendar length. So yeah, I really hope that's not something that still happens, because that would be a huge bug in the game, rather than a mod conflict with the way the game normally runs. So yeah, you can see it's gonna run a little bit quicker being unmodded, but the tracks are not real in some cases. Some tracks are missing. The names of the races as well can be wrong. So there it says the Belmont, but if you look at these races and you look at when the Belmont should be, I mean, I can't see any Belmont. I don't know about you guys, but I can't see any Belmont at all. You've got the Preakness Stakes being run at Baltimore. And before that, you do have your I went way too far. Did I just completely overlook it? There's a Kentucky Derby. Okay, I'm used to it being like the lowest in the list. So we got Kentucky Derby. And then we got the Preakness. And 11th of June, we got the Brooklyn Stakes, which I guess is the Belmont, but that's what I don't get. Why in the schedule you call it the Brooklyn Stakes, but it's the Belmont Stakes here. A little bit weird. Sadly, that's just what you've got to deal with because of copyright issues I think Mark was facing putting together. So it's understandable, but that's why I like the Start It mod. It kind of clears up all that. Everything is as realistic as it can be. Everything's in the right place, named the right way. And I just kind of prefer that. I think it's much, much easier to deal with. And understand things. So, depends how you play the game. I think that's only the American schedule as well. I do believe the UK, Australia, and Ireland are all sort of realistic, and like the racetracks are named correctly and the races are at the right racetracks on the right dates, and I think all that side of things is okay, but it had to be changed for America. So if you're a fan of American racing like me, and you like Secretariat and the Triple Crown races, and watching, some of the horses that we've seen run lately, like American Pharaoh, the first in however long it was, like 28 years or something, or was it more than that? The first to actually win the American Triple Crown since like 1979 or something. Like crazy, crazy stuff happening. So if you're a fan of all that, then sadly sometimes the default game doesn't really give you what you want. And also the fact that the season ends on the 26th of November is a little bit annoying to me. I want to play a year-round season. I want to play January 1st to December 31st. We get December 30th on the started mod, so that's close enough. It's okay. Everybody's in full. Nobody's full early as expected. And then we can come back on this screen in between seasons. It's that quick. And now, I could have looked on the previous one, but I'm going to look here. So swing the... Oh my god. Oh my god. Kirk Hamilton lacks extra speed. But he's got everything else, guys. And also look at that. The jumping. If you play a jump skip, you're probably pretty happy at looking at those. But yeah, no, swing the lead, swing the lead, one or the other. I'm not 100% sure which. But that's it's a very good start. So yeah, we're just testing things out, and we've already got one that would make the transfer list. And I say would make the transfer list, I mean is making the transfer list. Okay. Okay, yeah. I'll return when it's been added. So yes, that's not a bad start at all. That's not a bad start at all. We've added to our list. We're going to swing out and just add swing the lid out to the barn. Okay. Interesting. Very interesting. Kirk Hamilton. Depending what all these look like with their extra speed. I mean, I want something better. I would want something better. It looks like we're looking at them all there. Okay, Judd here doesn't have full finish, but still looks really good. So they're going to be in the lead. Boris the Blade is already retired. Did we look at Riverside Theatre, or did we look at Zarot? Yeah, we just looked at Zarot, didn't we? Again, doesn't have full finish. Oh, okay. They're the best two right now. Okay, Speedy Joe, I see you. I see you. I see you, Speedy Joe. Yeah, I see you, Speedy Joe. Low enthusiasm, low confidence. But that might be the one we breed from. That might be the one we breed from. Let me go ahead and add Speedy Joe. Who is, what are we going to say? Yeah, it's nearly 85. So 85, 90, 10, 35, 30, 80, 10. You can be kind of vague on these. Honestly, it doesn't need to be the best in the world. But yeah, Speedy Joe might be who we're breeding from in that case. It's okay. Do these make my list? Magnetic Pole does. Black Dale doesn't. Radium does. And then some. Which is why we're going Speedy Joe. Heaven's Echo doesn't. Now, these are really good horses. You might want to keep them. But, as I say, we've got our standards, and we will not let them drop. Red Art is good. So, no there. And that's yes there. That's a yes there as well. Yeah, so, a couple of them, like Mighty Claris and Jade, were good apart from their extra speed. But Speedy Joe actually has everything in. So again, I'm going to add these 4 oh, see, they're all colts. They're all colts. Swing the Lead was at least a filly. But again, we get 1 good filly, we get 4 good colts through. Out of 8. 3 didn't make it. 1 filly did, 4 colts did. It's just kind of what you go through. That's kind of the numbers you go through. Okay, so we've added those to there, and they were all laid back, I noticed as well, which is quite decent, actually. That's quite decent. They're all pretty good horses, nonetheless. So we got our 5 on there from the test, which is honestly more than expected. Really is more than expected. So we save and quit. We load the backup, which should be on the first day of year 3, not year 4. And as we pick this up, everybody is 2-year-old again in the barn. And we now know that we are looking for Speedy Joe. So go there and start this breeding again. Sadly, kind of where we entered the video. But at least I think we had a little bit of good information in there, and only 100,000 at times. So it's going to be 800,000 to breed everybody to Speedy Joe, except Down Alex. Except Down Alex. We already have that one done. Ooh. I might just throw that to Mighty Claret or Kirk Hamilton, maybe. Why don't we throw that to Kirk? And let's see what that pairing comes like. So we've already seen Down Alex and Speedy Joe work absolute wonders. Very, very happy with Radium there. So that's going to be an interesting horse to add to the mix. What I tried to do here was make sure that with the 8 I picked, there were 2 from each mare that I'd been breeding with, that I added to this transfer list. So no, you see, repeat unsuccessful wasn't ticked, and when they stopped breeding and it didn't work, it kicked right back out of it, which means now we've got to go right back in. And Speedy Joe is now with Quell Diva and apparently Far Alliance at the same time. Little glitch in the game, but we at least got that breeding done. And there we go. So we got 1 from Kirk Hamilton again. We tried Down Party, I think, with Kirk last time, and that was okay. That was okay. But now everybody's bred to Speedy. Again, we're going to go through the season. I'll be back to see these 8 horses. And we can see kind of how this works. And this will be my easy mode video of how the breeding program kind of works. And yeah, I do enjoy breeding on the started mod. I think there's a lot more spread of good and bad horses, whereas in the default, especially earlier on sometimes, as you saw, you're able to identify many more good horses. Sort of year 1, sort of year 2. Most of the ones at the top end of the list will be good horses. It's not so simple. in the Start It mod, because those races get shared around and you don't see the clumping until maybe later in the year. So at the end of Season 2, end of Season 3, you start seeing new horses appear that are actually good horses. So it might take a little longer to get started that way, and it's a little less predictable in terms of just being able to know that, yes, they're all great at the top of the list, and it doesn't matter really who I breed from. So there is that to keep in mind. But I like the speed the default game goes. And again, you can set up a breeding program anywhere. You can have an Australian, a British, an American, an Irish. You can have it on a different mod for a different nation out there, like a French schedule, Japanese schedule, South African, Dubai, whatever it is. It doesn't matter, because when they go on the breeding, when they enter the breeding barn, they breed. You find out whether they're good enough. It's the same process in any location. And then again, when they go into the transfer list, you import them. Whatever game you import them in is the nationality they're going to be. They kind of lose all the lineage, everything that happened before being imported into a new game. They lose all that upon being imported. So, slight downside, I'd like to breed horses around the world at different farms and still have their lineage like there. Maybe you can't click on them, but there'll be like the lineage tabs. Any of these maybe have a lineage here. Yeah, so you'd have these. Maybe these would be grayed out, but you'd have like the flag, the name of the stables next to them, perhaps underneath or whatever. I don't know exactly how, but you'd be able to import them. You'd be able to see, okay, this was a British save at, I don't know, the British Barns, and it's it's come from here, it's come from there, and more easily to identify kind of what you've put together yourself in different games. Because right now I can look at this list and I can take a guess. Like, that's Down Like That and one of Halifax's granddaughters. That's one of British Battler's granddaughters with Down Like That. That's a Lexicon and one of Lexicon's daughters and Down Like That. That's Ski Party and Down Like That. Datana. There's a lot of dats in here because we bred a lot of dats. That's Cormite, and I'm not sure who was the team. I can't remember that one. So yeah, then we start like Icy Sky. I have no idea. Like from there down, pretty much no idea till we get to Farana, and then again that's Marie W. That's Safranana. That's Kane's Alliance. That's Alexagon. That's Daranana. That's Battle Dat. That's Cormite. Like, they all are bred with the same horse. But I'd like the information to carry over if possible. That would just make it more fun for me. But like I say, it doesn't really matter where you import them, is the nationality they're going to be. So, if you find you have trouble or one schedule just runs quicker than another, run that schedule. You're trying to skip time. You're trying to skip years. Every single moment is key. So everybody's set up. It's the end of the season. Again, we can just hit. We wait for like 5 seconds. Another couple of hits, and we're already checking our horses. So I'm happy with that. Okay, I'm going to start here with Down Alex and Kirk Hamilton. Yeah, the extra speed. It's just the extra speed. I thought Kirk Hamilton wasn't too bad, and I know that Down Alex had a lot. So I was kind of hoping we'd hit in the middle, it would rise above 70. Everything else there looks really good, but that extra speed is kind of poor. And I know a lot of people don't rate extra speed. Breed for what you actually rate. I rate it. I have never had someone win 10 grade 1s with below a 65, let's say, extra speed. Which is why I look for 70. I accept 70 and I hope for 8. Because I've never had good runners who are below kind of 65 to 70. So I look for more than that. And you get horses like Safranana and Mariana and all the rest of them who go out and absolutely dominate. I know who the Udite is. It's Haladite. There we go. I'm not sure where the Ite came from in the first place. Is it Cormite? Cormite and one of the daughters of Halifax made Haladite, which then bred that. Yeah, we are. See. But it takes me a moment. I wish it didn't have to. So yeah, for a lot of you, you're screaming, that is a great colt. Keep that colt. I'm looking at it and I'm just like, I've got 200 horses that are that good or better. We ain't fussed out here. We ain't fussed. Okay. Ritual. There you go. And again, don't worry that maybe they looked a little better here or there. This one's got 20% to grow before it hits its 80 potential marker at 2-year-old, which is about the limit it could reach. If it only hits 10%, which is kind of like the lowest you should expect, if you win a maiden by like 6 lengths, sometimes you gain like 8 or something. Like, we're almost on 70% there, which is my bare minimum for like starting season 3. So, sorry, as a 3-year-old. So, this just hits so much more for me. Yes, cruising burst is low, but we'll gain another 5 to 10% as it ages from 2 to 3. That'll put it around the 50 marker. High confidence, enthusiasm, consistency, full finish, 80% extra speed, 80%. This is what I'm looking for. I won't deteriorate quickly. It'll win a lot of races young just because it's that good now. It'll mature slowly, which means it'll actually hit this peak at about 4 probably, or 5, even later depending on what kind of schedule you're running, and it won't fall off before that point anyway. And that's on the track. That's just form. That's not breeding. So this has almost everything I want in a horse. I'd like that cruising burst up to that 50% marker. I'd like 30 to 50 battling qualities, which we never get. And of course, I'd love to start at 70 to 90 range instead of 60 to 80. But no, we're just getting greedy. But Ritual is laid back, it's got good pace. Everything here to me looks like it's a very, very good horse. And again, when we look at Speedy Joe, we see that. We see it's got the big potential. It's got the 80 extra speed. It's got the full finish and consistency. Like, if Speedy Joe was one of my horses, it would make the breeding barn. 100% it would make the breeding barn. As a colt, as a stallion, you know how rare that is. It would 100% make that barn. But it does have its weaknesses. Yes, low enthusiasm, confidence, cruising burst. That just seems to be a game-bred issue where quite a lot of horses will have those kind of fairly low. But I really like Speedy Joe. I really do like Speedy Joe here. Yeah, Ritual. Nice. Heaven's Echo. Again, you're seeing that 80-80. The room to grow, everything pretty good. Low enthusiasm. That's fine. We've picked that up. Also, I think you saw here as well, not a great cruising burst either. So we're taking more of that from Speedy Joe than Ritual did. But at the same time, that lady also has lower in those. So that's why. Down Party actually has much better there. And as you can see, Down Party's a very, very nice young horse themselves, who we haven't yet seen race. We haven't got to that save. Then we got Daterite, again, low in places, but still, like, really good. Just really good. Blackdale doesn't have the consistency, so I would disqualify there. Lower potential, doesn't have the consistency. But yeah, if you don't worry about consistency, and let's not forget, Marie W had 10 consistency and won 28 grade 1s. Safranana, 70. Swedish Chili, 50. Currently out there, Canes Alliance 30, Battled at 10. Like Darren Anna, the 108, the highest rated 2-year-old, 40 consistency. But I'm just being like way up there in terms of my standards. And while it looks really good, it doesn't look good enough. And we're going to say goodbye to Blacktail. And I know people out there are going to hate that. But this is how ruthless I have to be. Why? Because I could be putting 100, 150 horses on the transfer list per save. Running about 8 seasons, 8 breeding years. So in total about 10 years. 150 horses per save. Maybe 6 hours of total gameplay. 150 yearlings for 6 hours, including complete setup, breeding, skipping time, evaluating, noting down in my Google sheet, transferring them over to the TTF, the transfer file. Like all that from the moment I click to set up the game to the moment I delete the game is about 6 hours. And I get 150 names while being this brutal. Again, 70, not good enough. That's not good enough. Everything else looks wonderful. We also have a horse this name. It would have had to have been renamed anyway. But like, this doesn't look great in places. This looks a little better in place than Ritual looks just great, phenomenal. So we're not really struggling for horses. And here we go, Radium hits home as well. So barely hits the extra speed. That's about 71 maybe, but I normally put that down as 70. I'd put this down at 45, even though it's like 43. Now, whatever it's going to be. And then we're just going to call this Calypso Kid, just because I don't want to think of a name and that came to mind for some reason. So that one makes it, and again, low consistency, so Lady Windermere does not make it. But yeah, so that was 4 out of 8 that made it from Speedy Joe. Now, when we bred with 8 different ones, we got 5 out of 8. But yeah, a lot of those sires weren't really that good. But even from this, even from an hour video, which starts, let's not forget, with the game actually, the old save breaking about 20, 30 minutes in. So for 30 minutes, plus my, I'd say 15 minutes that I cut out of the video, in terms of pause recording while I was like setting everything up and getting some stuff down, maximum. So 45 minutes. We've got Swing the Lead, Spoofmaster, Red Art, Radium, Magnetic Pole, and now being joined by Ritual, Heaven's Echo, Spoofmaster, Calypso Kid. Like 45 minutes to do absolutely everything. I've got 7 horses. That's how easy and how quick and effective this method of breeding can be. And yes, it can get tedious. It can get long to set up different games and to go and scout, and sometimes you just don't find a sire and you've got to set up a whole new game because it's 2 years and none of the game breds have come good enough and you've got 40 mares you're breeding from at a time. It can get laborious, it can get tedious. But what it does get is results. That's why I'm on my 4th transfer list. That's why we're now at, let me think, so I've got 360s, that's 180. We're closing in here on another 60. We're up to 53. My God. Yeah. Now, most of you will have all those on one transfer list, maybe. Or maybe 2. I don't know if it does cap at 200 or not. But mine seemed to cap a little lower, so. With that, I'm going to enter these in. I'll catch you in the next one where we look at a normal breeding save, a normal difficulty save. And we'll go from there. But, yeah, I've got a phone call to jump into. I will add all these. I'll see you in the next one. Like, comment, subscribe. Add any question you got down in the section below. I'll see you soon. Join the Discord. Link, as always, in the description. Take care, behave, stay safe, and I'll see you again soon.